Well, here we are again. Another Rosh Hashanah with masks, social distancing, remote services, you name it. Even with so much progress, vaccines, and so much we have learned, we are still living a reality shaped by this pandemic, a kind of radical uncertainty previously unfamiliar to us. What uncertainties weigh most heavily on you as the new year begins? The health of those you love, the school year that's beginning, how you'll celebrate life cycle observances that are around the corner, unemployment or underemployment, insurmountable inequality in our society. Listen to that list. The worries about health, success at school or work, our concerns about who will make it to our Seder tables and our baby namings. These aren't actually new questions or new uncertainties, but this pandemic has forced us to deal with that which has always been at the heart of the human experience. The pandemic has forced us to see, in the words of my colleague Rabbi Jonathan Blake, that the false assurances we had, and that what we thought we had before, like well-ordered, regulated, and predictable lives, they were actually the aberration, and that we were living under false pretenses. Many of the uncertainties we are navigating today were tenuous already, and the pandemic has revealed the cracks forming just beneath the surface, threatening to break through. We are not the first generation of Jews to live through a time of radical uncertainty. In fact, our Israelite ancestors built years of uncertainty into their calendar on a regular basis. Shemitah, which literally means release, is the seventh year in a repeating 7-year cycle set out in the Torah that the Israelites are told they must observe when they arrive in the promised land. There are 4 basic rules for Shemitah. First, cease planting crops. Second, invite the poor to gather food from the land. Third, free the slaves. And fourth, forgive the debts. Every 7 years, the Israelites gave up ownership and could take only what they needed to survive and to sustain their families. Life became radically uncertain. Shemitah demanded a release of reliability, a forced reprieve from what people were used to, what they counted on, work, schedules, and everything else that felt normal, routine, or stable. Shemitah necessitated a year of figuring out how to manage through uncertainty while providing also for a fresh start. And it so happens that 5782 is a Shemitah year, a year of release, and its accompanying uncertainty. It begins right now, today, with Rosh Hashanah. So how can we use this year of Shemitah, of release, both to get through a time of unprecedented challenge and also to face the reality that our futures will, to a certain extent, require us to live with uncertainty? What might we learn from our ancestral Israelite family and how they lived during these mandated 7-year, every cycled periods of Shemitah, of release and renewal, of letting go, of untethering themselves from the assurances of agriculture, commerce, and ownership? I believe that ritual kept them anchored in time and relationship. Prescribed sacrifices at the temple in Jerusalem, weekly Shabbat and holiday gatherings with feasts fashioned from the food now equally available to everyone. A living, real-time test of the sustaining power of their connection with God and with each other. Each of these different benefits of ritual. Rituals stabilize our lives in 3 primary ways. First, rituals help us find our place in time, offering structure to hours and days and weeks and years. Second, rituals help us feel connected to one another inviting us to create or deepen relationships. And finally, rituals bring us into something bigger than any one of us alone. Taken together, rituals give us a structure to navigate uncertainty, and Judaism gives us the tools with which to build and rebuild. Now, before you tune out, because the rabbi has just started talking about ritual, I want you to consider the rituals we developed over the last year and a half. I'm going to start and share two that have sustained me. The first ritual I came to treasure was during our Shabbat services on Zoom. As we had done long before the pandemic, we shared our blessings. We imagined filling our Kiddush cups with the good stuff we would lift up, even when the world was really dark. The Zoom chat was quiet at first each week, but then your offerings started to flow. One person started and inspired another, who inspired another, and all of a sudden, our locked-down Shabbat celebrations felt connected and personal, and had the added benefit of helping us to get to know one another differently. That was not a new ritual for us, but it took on a new life. The second ritual I'll share is one that Ezra and Asher and I started, by accident, I'll add, of Thursday afternoon lunches with really good sandwiches. Why? Because Thursday is my day off, and it was the one day I could sit down with them for lunch. So we made it fun and delicious. And suddenly, lunch was really about our time together. We all looked forward to Thursdays. It became an anchor in our week. And even when camp and now school have resumed, we make sure to have a yummy Thursday dinner, which usually means takeout. Different meal, same feeling. And here's an important point I want to underscore. The rituals we adopt don't have to be flashy. Regular meals are not particularly exciting or unique moments to ritualize. It's how we choose to create and protect these moments that gives them power. For as long as we choose to do them, they can keep us tethered in time, in relationship, and in purpose. Remember back in the spring of 2020, a ritual emerged as the clock struck 7 p.m. and what seemed like the whole of New York City opened their windows or stepped outside and cheered and banged on pots and pans to thank the healthcare workers caring for us and caring for our loved ones. This ritual helped people mark time each day and brought strangers together around a shared purpose. And other opportunities grew out of it. Musicians played short concerts on their fire escapes, and neighbors struck up conversations, all ritual. It did not make the pandemic go away, but it did become a tool to manage the uncertainty of living through it. That is, creating and participating in rituals is not a magic potion to eliminate the real challenges that come along with living, but they are, I offer, a beautiful tool that can change the way we do that living. Jewish tradition is filled with rituals, beautiful, meaningful markers in time. Practices I hope that you will try on for size and adopt into your personal or family practice. Rituals anchor us in time. Consider Shabbat. We need the rituals for Shabbat because otherwise it's really just another day on the calendar. Forget, if you can, whatever you think Shabbat is supposed to be. In my mind, that looks like this: a perfectly set table with a roasted chicken, well-behaved and well-rested people, and no stress. Don't get me wrong, that sounds wonderful, but it's not what I'm going for, because for many of us, including me and my family, it's just not realistic. Instead, how about lighting candles to mark the beginning of Shabbat, whether it happens exactly at sundown or exactly when your family can be together? Or sharing the blessings of your week. These can be done with our Barnert community in person or online, or with family at home whenever you are together. I think you'll find this ritual to be deeply stabilizing and comforting, a sturdy anchor in the endless flow of days. Secondly, rituals bring us together, and being together helps us manage through the unknown. They are guides. They tell us actually what to do for each other, what we can rely on when we are at a loss. When we don't have them, we lose our connection and sometimes our way. Earlier this summer, I spoke by phone with a longtime member of Barnert Temple who was thinking about ending many decades of relationship here. The pandemic has taken its toll on each of us differently, and this family, like so many families, had suffered the death of an older parent. At the time of my conversation, many months had passed since the death. This congregant was hurt that the temple hadn't sent a note, gathered even virtually for Shiva, or reached out to offer a meal of consolation. These are the rituals that bring us together around death and mourning. In high points and low points, we need them to keep us afloat, a spiritual raft in the sea of uncertainty. Without the familiarity of Jewish ritual to help them through their bereavement, this family felt unmoored. So where had we been? We didn't know about the death. So let me say right here, right now, please call me or write to me when you are living with sadness, and also when you welcome celebrations, in illness and death, in babies and in weddings. Also, just as importantly, please opt into these communal ritual gatherings. Go to Shiva in person when possible and with the necessary precautions, or online. Send a note of condolence, email or paper, or congratulations when it's appropriate. These rituals matter, and it matters that we live them together. Rituals give us community connection. Finally, in the face of uncertainty, rituals unite us around something bigger than any of ourselves alone. They remind us that we are not alone. Connection comes with responsibility, to opt in, to participate in community ritual in spite of all of the very good reasons why we can't make the time or why we feel reluctant to open ourselves up to others. Consider all the ways in which the rituals of our shared Jewish tradition enhance life's meaning by increasing connection. Giving tzedakah regularly, even in small amounts, like a ritualized weekly collection before Shabbat, reminds us that our obligations extend beyond ourselves. Volunteering at Barnert, cooking and serving each month in the men's shelter, for instance, may radically alter our perspective on all of the certainties that we take for granted. The connective aspect of ritual, the way Jewish traditions tie us to the larger we, is a reminder that pandemic or no, life is often a matter of relationship. What if, in this new year of Shemitah, we divert some of the energies we are currently spending trying to solve what cannot be solved, and instead allow the transformative potential of ritual to help us find our footing? What might we feel? Perhaps this will be where we feel our personal Shemitah, our release, our hearts beating less erratically, our breathing steadier, our faces lifted up to one another. Rituals stabilize our lives in time, in relationship, and in purpose. And of course, they only work if we try them. It may take a while to find the right ones, and then also to come to find comfort in wherever we land. That's why we have to do them over and over and over again. It is our actions that transform them into rituals. And it's not just for this year. This year of Shemitah is also our opportunity to try out and find the rituals we might keep as we continue out of the uncertainty of the pandemic into the inevitable uncertainty of whatever comes next. Here's the thing, wrote my colleague, Rabbi Rachel Barenblatt, in a perfect poem for this second uncertain new year together. The year begins anew, even in the worst of times. The leaves will turn and fall, and they'll grow again. And sometimes we're afraid, and we can't know what choice to make to keep anyone safe. Uncertainty is a bear. All we can do is seek out sweetness everywhere we may and work to fix what brokenness we find. The good news is we're not alone. We'll help each other hope when light feels dim and lift the sparks that darker days reveal. We'll love each other fiercely. In the end, there is no greater work that we can do. We who survive will help each other heal. May we begin our new year, 5782, this year of Shemitah, with a commitment to finding even one ritual that holds us steady through our uncertain days of life. And may we then embrace this loving presence that we discover, this presence of God and also of one another. And may that surround us as we journey forward. Shana Tova.